Before we begin, if you like what you hear on the Tan and J-Man Show, don't forget to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, and go ahead and click subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. We encourage you to interact with us and keep up to date with the Tan and J-Man Show on social media by liking our Facebook page and following us on Twitter and Instagram at Tan and J-Man Show. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy another episode of the Tan and J-Man Show with your hosts Tanner Lee and Josh the J-Man Munt.
It is time for another episode of the Tan and J-Man Show live on the ISC Sports Network. The J-Man's here, sitting next to the T-Dog. Got anything to say today?
I thought you were going to tear your rotator cuff there. Out of the corner of my eye, that was a violent shoulder thrust movement there.
Whether you want an epic burger, hand-tossed pizza, hand-breaded tenderloins, seafood, craft beer, or a handcrafted cocktail, the Dam Landing is the place to be. The Dam Landing is a bar and grill located on beautiful Lake Manitou that focuses on freshness and quality. The Dam Smoke, here every single weekend. They have ribs. They have steaks.
They had pulled pork, too, on Sunday.
I did see
ribs
they had
pulled pork. It looked really good.
It is available on weekends. In addition, you can wash it down with one of their 16 beers on tap, including a constant rotation of today's best micro brews and domestic flavors, or a handcrafted cocktail made using fresh ingredients. Take in the fantastic views of Lake Manitou in their beer garden or outdoor bar area, whether it be boat or wheels. The Dam Landing is the place to be, located at 1305 Ewing Road in Rochester. Their number is 1574-223-8950. Taco break is also open.
Why did you share all that?
Huh?
For people listening to the podcast or watching for the first time, that is our main sponsor.
That is our main sponsor.
Josh just went right to the read without even mentioning that.
You know, I was trying something out, and Tanner, the boss of the Tan and J-Man Show, clearly didn't like it.
No,
so, here we are.
Changing it up.
Yes.
You're like Greg Maddux with an off-speed pitch.
You betcha. I am like Greg Maddux. That is one of the most accurate descriptions of me I've ever heard.
You're welcome.
A 355-game winner as well. Playing video games against you. I'm sure I've beaten you 355 times at least.
No.
That might be your win percentage against me, .355.
What game?
Any. All
Definitely
of them,
not NBA Jam.
all collective. I do have your number on that.
You've been dogging me.
Lately.
Yep.
Anyway. Yep. Got some birdie bogey for the J-Man.
I do. I got to bring out my phone because I don't remember off the top of my head. It's a toughie this week.
Light work.
You got to pay attention to this one.
All right.
It's kind of long.
I have a short attention span.
So there's been 16 major leaguers
16
who have hit 100-plus homers during the month of July. 2 of those 16 played for the Cubs.
Yes.
One of them is 4th in career home runs in July, behind only Barry Bonds, Hank Aaron, and Babe Ruth. Who is it?
So you've told me you didn't think I'd get it. So this might take the only guy I'm thinking of out of the equation. But we will see now, won't we?
There's a couple, yeah. I'm just going to stop there.
There's really only 2 guys that kind of pop into my head when you talk about this question, and both of them have over 500 homers. And I'm probably way off on it, but I don't. What was that?
Nothing.
That was like an evil laugh. I didn't like it. Birdie Bogey is brought to you by Noble Gnome LLC for fresh, locally grown, nutrient-dense produce from Bryson Katie Romine of Mentone, Indiana. Like them on Facebook. Follow them on Instagram. Check out their website, noblegnomellc.com. They were at the Kosciuszko County's Farmers Market on the 4th of July, and I assume they will be back this week. They had Frizy lettuce heads.
It sounds right.
I saw Bryce on Saturday, and he told me how to pronounce it, and I don't remember. Swiss chard, kale, cabbage, cucumbers, kohlrabi, turnips, beets, basil, cilantro, zucchini, and summer squash. Get Your veggies.
Nice little J-Man shuffle there.
I hated it.
Instead of the icky shuffle.
Never doing it again.
It's the J-Man shuffle. You got a lot of reads this week, you know.
I'm already a little parched.
I know. Now you got a whole list now to go.
Ready to get educated.
Yeah, I want to know what happened on July 6th throughout the history of sports.
On this date, in 1887, that would have been 33 years ago. Or
good math.
133 years ago today.
There you go.
Wimbledon women's tennis. Lottie Dodd becomes youngest ever Wimbledon champ at 15 years.
Lottie Dodd.
285 days. I don't know if that's still a record or not for youngest, but that's pretty young to win.
It's pretty good.
I honestly didn't know Wimbledon was a thing back in 1887.
I knew it had a rich tradition and history, but I didn't know what year it went back to. So
let's see. We got...
hope you have some ones for me to guess.
We'll see.
Okay.
I'm not sure how it's looking towards like the 1970s and 80s, but until then, bunch of Wimbledon women's. I don't think you'll do very good.
Probably not.
1920, the New York Yankees scored a then MLB record 14 runs in the fifth inning.
That's a lot of runs in one inning.
Nothing rout of the Washington Senators. I know it's at least been matched. I'm not sure if somebody scored more.
Who matched it?
I don't know. I just know somebody has had 14 because I remember seeing it. Who won the 1928 Wimbledon's men's tennis?
Come on.
All-French final.
I don't know.
Rene Lacoste beats Henry Cochet.
I could have guessed 1,728 guys and not guessed Rene Lacoste.
I told you it was a Frenchman. I should have narrowed it down for you.
Yeah, really nailed it. Rafael Nadal. It's great-great-great-great-grandfather. Great.
In 1929, Henry Cochet won it the year after losing to Rene Lacoste. He beat fellow Frenchmen, bunch of Frenchmen playing in the Wimbledon's men's tennis tournament.
France has a rich history of producing good players.
Jim Boratra. 1929, St. Louis Cardinals set an MLB record, 28 runs on 28 hits against the Phillies. I know
quite a few runs.
That's a lot of runs. I know the Texas Rangers during the Josh Hamilton days scored 30 against Baltimore, or at least maybe Baltimore scored 30 on that. I don't remember how it happened, but I know Rangers scored 30. It might have been the day Josh Hamilton hit 4 homers in Baltimore. I know it happened in Baltimore.
You should have just said one of them, said it confidently, and stuck with it.
Well, then someone goes and fact checks me, and J-Man's an idiot.
Like me. I was going to fact check you, but...
Who won the 1931 U.S. Open Golf tournament?
31.
Yes, won by 1 stroke over George Von Elm.
Ooh, 31.
Second 36-hole playoff, longest playoff in tournament history.
Let's go with Walter Hagen.
Billy Burke.
Oh.
Ever heard of Billy Burke?
No. Pretty beat.
George Von Elm.
Oh, you said that already. Yeah.
Pretty sure Billy Burke was the guy that was in the movie Twilight, Tanner's favorite movie. I'm pretty sure that's an actual actor.
Not my favorite movie.
I remember in high school you would.
I've seen 2 of them, but it's not my favorite movie.
You high on Tanner's rewatch list.
No.
Twilight. Loves.
False.
Loves. He was Team Edward. Is that a thing?
I think you're right about that. I forget the characters.
You would know.
No, I wouldn't.
1932, Cubs future All-Star Billy Jurgis is shot twice in Chicago hotel room by a spurned girlfriend, Violet Popovich Valet.
Well, that's not a very positive on this day note.
No charges filed.
As he laughs.
1933, the first MLB All-Star game was played. The American League won 4-2. Does not have an MVP.
Where was it played at?
Comiskey Park in Chicago. Old Comiskey. Babe Ruth hit.
Now it's a guaranteed rate field.
Yes.
With the arrow pointing down.
Yes.
Because they stink.
They're stinky. Fred Perry won this year, 1934, Wimbledon men's tennis tournament. I'm going to fast forward here a little bit. These are taking forever.
We're still stuck in the 30s.
Yes. 1941, the New York Yankees team unveils a monument to former captain Lou Gehrig in center field.
Luckiest man on earth.
Luckiest man on the face of the earth. Let's see. Who won the British Open in 1951? It was an Englishman.
Oh, crud. I don't know any Englishmen back then.
Max Faulkner. Never heard of him.
Nope. I was going to guess, originally I was going to guess Ben Hogan, so I'd been off.
This is a halfway decent one. 1956, MLB Commissioner Ford Frick inaugurates Cy Young Award to honor baseball's outstanding pitcher.
That's pretty cool. I didn't know what year that was implemented.
1956
cool.
neither.
That's my favorite fact of the night so far.
Not a whole lot. Who won the 1968 Wimbledon women's tennis? This girl is a legend. You probably won't be upset if you get it wrong.
Billie Jean King?
Billie Jean King. Tanner gets a par.
It was either her or Everett were the only two I could think of as old-timers.
She beat
female tennis players.
Judy Tegart. 1974, who won Wimbledon men's? This guy's also a guy that was a pretty big name.
McEnroe?
No, Jimmy Connors. Pretty close, though.
Yeah.
Pretty close.
My tennis knowledge is not very good, Tan and J Mancho Nation, so bear with me.
What about
Trying.
1979 Wimbledon women's?
Let's go with Billie Jean again.
Martina Navratilova.
I have heard of her. Darn it.
Steve Carlton, 1980, became the first lefty to reach 2,836 strikeouts, most by a left-handed pitcher in MLB history, since been passed by Randy Johnson.
The big unit.
Big unit. That dude was huge.
6'10".
6'10", through 102.
I was watching a highlight of him the other night on the Diamondbacks, and he was nasty.
He was filthy. The thing coming out like this, I couldn't imagine being a lefty. I mean, we've talked about the John Kruk clip a bunch, but wouldn't be a fun at bat. You think Aroldis Chapman's not fun. Wait till a guy's 6 inches taller.
It's amazing looking back on his Hall of Fame career, how many different teams he played for, too.
Yeah, he was
usually a guy that good you wouldn't think would hop around that much.
It looked like he was going to get traded to the Cubs in
really
98. He went from the Mariners to the Astros, I think. Or Astros to Mariners, I forget which.
I will look it up.
Maybe I don't know what the situation was, but Cubs backed out at the last minute. They did the same thing with Mike Piazza. They backed out at the last minute.
That was smart of them.
It was even on the bottom line on ESPN. Cubs agreed to trade.
Was that when he was with the Marlins?
For just half a, or who was he with for like a half season? Like,
wasn't the Marlins?
Was it, or just like 7 games or something? I don't remember, but yeah, it looked like they had.
The big unit was on Montreal. Then
Seattle.
Well, it says, I don't know, 1989. That's weird. I don't know what it says there. The Montreal, then Seattle, then Houston.
Yeah, so it was when
then Arizona, then the Yankees, then Arizona, then the Giants.
It would have been when he was traded to Houston.
Yes.
1991, who won the Wimbledon Women's Tennis Open?
I can't even guess.
Steffi Graf.
I've heard of her. But
she also won in 1996. 1996 in a 2-0 win versus the Brewers. New York Yankees closer John
Piazza played for the Marlins for 5 games.
Yes, it was when he was traded.
98.
I'm pretty sure it was when he was traded to the Marlins, or maybe from the Marlins to. Because then was he traded to the Mets? From the
straight to the Mets from the Marlins, yes. And then he played with the Padres in 06 and the A's in 07.
So when he was traded from the Marlins to the Mets, the Cubs had come to an agreement with the Marlins, or maybe beforehand, before he was even traded to the Marlins. But Cubs backed out for some reason.
He hit 40 homers twice right on the dot.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
In 97 and 99. And he hit 38 in 2000 and 36 in 2001 and 33 in 2002, yeah. Then after that, he really declined.
John Wetland in 1996 set MLB record 20 consecutive saves. That was the MLB record in 96. Eric Gagne came along. I was going to say,
Game Over came in and beat that one.
Smashed it. You just looked at my computer. But
I didn't see anything, though.
Who won the 97 men's Wimbledon?
I'm going to guess between 2 guys, but I'm going to go with Sampras.
Pete Sampras.
I was going to say him or Andre Agassi.
Andre Agassi would have been he beat Cedric Pioli.
Never heard of him.
Frenchman. Shocker. Not a whole lot. 2000, real estate developer Stan Kroenke, now the Rams owner, announces the acquisition of the Denver Nuggets Colorado Avalanche in the Pepsi Center at $450 million from the Ascent Entertainment Group.
And in the following year, in 2001, the Avs brought home their second Stanley Cup over the Devils.
2002, who won Wimbledon women?
Let's go with Venus Williams.
Serena. Serena's the better.
I know she is, but it took her a little while to get going. But
2003, who won Wimbledon men's?
2003.
It was this fella's first Grand Slam title.
Let's go with Federer.
Roger Federer. Rafael Nadal won in 2008 over Federer. Over Federer.
Took him a while because for a while the only place he could beat Federer was on the clay courts of the French Open.
Probably the best tennis player in the world. Don't quote me on this. Roger. Novak Djokovic won in 2014.
So it obviously would have been Wimbledon week this week.
Yes. 2019, the LA on this day 1 year ago, the LA Clipper. Man, this is going to be rough tonight. The LA Clippers in one day acquired Kawhi Leonard via free agency and Paul George in a trade.
Big day for him.
So glad that on this day is over. Hit us with the sponsor there, please.
I would be happy to. The sponsor of the On This Day segment is Proforma Print House. If you're looking for a trustworthy, dependable resource for your next trade show, company, picnic, or sales meeting, Proforma Print House has over 50 years combined experience in promotional products and commercial print. They strive for fast and efficient response to all of your print needs. You need to look no further. Let them be your one-source print and promotional company, and contact them today by telephone at 574-210-3815.
Neato. What do you want to start with tonight?
Well, let's start with some sports. I'm just going to say news because the topic involves a few different teams or a few different sports. There's been a few teams, the Washington Redskins and the Cleveland Indians, to put on the spotlight, have been asked to at least review their names to possibly change their names.
Yes, this is a long time coming. The Redskins, I'm not a Native American and don't pretend to even know what it's like to be a Native American. But Redskins is a very offensive name to them, and so's Indian as well. So it's kind of a long time coming. Now, I know Ron Rivera, who's the head coach of the Washington Football Club, is on board with changing it. Who the heck knows what Dan Snyder's thinking? No one ever knows what's going on in his brain.
He's been backed in the quarter by FedEx.
Absolutely. By FedEx?
FedEx Field is the main sponsor of the Redskins, and then Nike,
I think it's $250 million for naming rights, too.
Yeah.
And they're saying they're going to pull if they don't change it.
And good luck. Normally, even in good times, that's tough to get a company to commit to. Good luck right now during the pandemic getting a company to commit to that.
And 3 of his partners are looking to pull out as well, which I think they own like 40%.
And Nike took all their merchandise off their website.
So he's absolutely backed into a corner. Haven't heard much of Dan Snyder in a while.
No.
He's kind of
nice.
Stayed out of the spotlight because he was arguably one of the worst owners in sports. I'm sure he still kind of is. But he hasn't spoken much lately. But I think ultimately, by the beginning of the season,
they have to decide by September.
I think they'll have a different name.
And if you're waiting till September, and even if you decide to change it, something off the wall right now, good luck getting all your logos and merchandise and everything out before the season starts. So they need to choose something as close to their brand as possible.
The thing is, you won't be seeing people in the stands likely.
True.
So you won't have to see the Redskins logo in the stands.
True, you would around the stadium, though.
Would they even be allowed to tailgate and stuff?
Oh, I'm not saying by the fans, but even their logo on the field,
sure.
Their logo around the border of the stadium, different things around the stadium like that, their logo.
How hard is that to change, though? I was just talking like getting merchandise so people can buy. And
the logo won't be as hard as the merchandise, but and the merchandise won't be hard either if they can change the name to be close to the branding colors.
Correct.
The burgundy and the gold.
Which I think that would they're not going to go for a complete rebrand.
No, that would just be
much.
Yeah.
But there are some interesting name choices thrown out there.
And I asked on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram what some good choices would be, and we got a few responses on Facebook. One said the Warriors, which I even thought of because one of their alternate logos is the spear. Mm-hmm. But the Warriors has been a name in the past that has been brought up, potentially needing change. Now, the Golden State Warriors haven't been thrown in this mix, but like the Marquette Golden Eagles, they were the Warriors at one time. They were backed into a corner of the change.
Really?
Mm-hmm. There's been multiple colleges who have had to change from Warriors. When is it getting too picky?
That's a good question. Like Warriors.
I mean,
people get so offended by everything nowadays.
And really, I didn't even think about the Indians until they were thrown in this mix. I didn't even.
Yeah.
But then with my lack of education on the topic, then I thought, well, what about the Braves or the Chiefs or the Blackhawks? But the Chiefs is kind of like a rank.
Yes.
Isn't it? So that's more of a praising thing.
I will say the tomahawk chop in both Kansas City and Florida State and Atlanta.
And Cleveland. Don't they do it in Cleveland too?
And Cleveland absolutely needs to be banned. That's pretty offensive. Now, as far as the Indians go, this has been in the baseball circles talked about for probably not as long as the Redskins. It's only been like 5 years, really.
Yeah.
And really the first time I'd really heard about it, South Park did a whole episode on it.
Did they really? I did not see that.
And it was pretty interesting because they're so smart over there. But that was kind of the first time it really been brought to my attention. Now, Terry Francona, the manager of the Indians, which the managers and coach should have no input in it at all. I mean, who knows if they're even going to be there next year.
Yeah.
But he said it's time for a change as well. I haven't heard any names bandied about, but I think they will review much like the Redskins are doing. And I think they'll ultimately be backed into a corner as well and have to change.
What do you think would be a good alternate name for the Redskins?
I like Warriors.
Yeah.
I've heard the Washington Lincolns, which I think would be interesting. What would you just have Abraham Lincoln's statue?
Something similar to the penny?
Yeah. Which that'd be weird to have it named after a guy.
Yeah.
I also saw the Washington Jeffersons as well.
And you know that there'll be people that complain over that?
Yeah, people. Somehow. Honestly, the worst thing to happen to this world is social media. People have an opinion on everything.
Thad Mooney says South Park did it when Washington lost their trademark rights. So that's one. So yes, that was the timing of that episode.
Yes, and I do remember that episode pretty vividly.
But yeah, it'll be interesting. I've heard of the Red Tails.
I like that, yeah. That's a good one because, you could keep your same color scheme.
I follow one person on Twitter that's a big diehard Redskins fan. He said he'd be happy with the Red Tails or Hogs.
I like Hogs. That was the name of their offensive line during their Super Bowl win, I think in the 80s or 70s.
Stick with me, Liz. How about Pigskins?
Pigskins.
Can kind of incorporate the hog skin. It means that's a nickname for a football. Pigskin.
I like it.
Yeah.
Why not? Why not?
But then I thought, PETA would probably get mad, but they could get mad at every single animal name
Bronco,
somehow if they wanted to.
Dolphin.
Colt.
Eagle.
Raven.
Bear.
Cardinal.
Seahawk.
Lion.
Ram.
Bill. Yeah.
Bill. No. Aren't Buffalo? What is Buffalo Bill's mascot?
It's a bill. The Buffalo Bills.
What the heck's a bill? Is it like a buffalo? What is it?
Am
I stupid?
Their mascot's like a buffalo.
It's like a buffalo.
I'm going to bring it up. Google Buffalo Bills. I don't even know how to explain this to you because I'm just shocked by that you brought this up.
Dolphins play them twice a year too. Oh, it's like a buffalo.
Yeah, what I've just been saying the whole time. But it'll be interesting to see what happens with all this.
Yes.
Yeah, I know that it's kind of been brought up to the public before, but it seems different this time, more serious with everything going on.
And I think it's actually going to happen.
And I think it's going to happen.
Too.
Yeah.
Definitely with the Washington.
Now you're a
team.
Illinois Fighting Illini fan.
Yes.
Will this impact them at all?
I haven't heard.
I know they got rid of Chief Illini years ago.
Chief Illini, that was probably 2007-ish, I want to say. We were in high school. But somebody dresses up as the chief and does a dance at halftime in the stands anyway. I will say it's very offensive. And I said that out loud to my dad once, and the old lady in front of me ripped my head off. So they're very passionate about it. But I haven't heard anything about them having to change their name or anything. Same thing with the Seminoles in Florida State. They say that's not an offensive name. I'm just so uneducated. I feel like I shouldn't even have an opinion on it because I'm so uneducated.
That Moody said, how about the Washington Sentinels with Shane Falco coming in off the bench to lead the comeback in the second half to get into the playoffs?
I've actually seen that name mentioned as a
that'd be neat,
possibility.
but that would be
from the movie The Replacement.
That'd be total rebrand. But
well, it have to be. I mean, you wouldn't have to go to the.
I guess you could stick with the
orange and
burgundy,
blue or whatever.
the burgundy and gold colors. I guess.
I don't remember what their colors were on there.
It was red and silver, or blue and silver. Or, kind of a combination of all three.
I thought it was orange and something.
No, it was not orange. So it was like red and blue and white.
That looks an awful lot like.
That's
orange.
red. It looks like the Patriots' old uniforms from the AFL.
It looks like a red jersey that's been washed a bunch.
Yeah, that's a good.
And turned into a orange.
But we'll see what happens. We'll keep tabs on this situation.
What do you think if the Indians were to change their name? What they could go to? I'm trying to think.
Something to do with music with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Could be the
Cleveland Notes.
The Cleveland Zeppelins. The Cleveland. What the heck's their city known for? No one wants to go there on vacation, according to Joe Kim Noe. Remember that globe?
Yeah. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That's the only thing.
Don't they have? I know Detroit's the Motor City.
Yes.
But it seems like Cleveland's a big automotive industry as well.
You're thinking tires, aren't you?
Are you just getting that off of Tommy? Or no, that was
Firestones. Located in Ohio.
The Cleveland Firestones. It's pretty cool. Just be
it's dumb.
Just be a big old.
Really dumb.
Big old tire logo. Love it.
It'll be interesting. I don't think the Braves and Chiefs and Blackhawks are going to have to do anything, but we'll see.
I have heard the Blackhawks name mentioned, but not overly seriously.
Yeah.
Yet, who knows? They might just end up having to change all Native American names, and that'd be take a little while to get used to.
And they can move on to something else to complain about.
Yeah. I like to complain about stuff, but not stuff that doesn't affect me, which this doesn't affect me at all, and I'm sure it affects a lot of people.
But something that's affecting you, affecting me, affecting a lot of sports and baseball fans is the delay of the baseball season. But tonight, MLB Network released the 60-game schedule for every team.
Correct. Nothing to me is more boring than a TV schedule or than a professional sports schedule announcement TV show.
You complain about that like you do the power rankings.
Well, for one, power rankings during the season, sure. Before the season, no one knows. Especially
usually I would agree with you, but in times like this when there's nothing to talk about.
When they go based off of last year's win percentage, the strength of schedule, it's pointless. Teams change so much, and in these uncertain times, no one knows how the other teams are going to be this year. So it's all a coin flip. I mean, we're seeing guys opt out. We've had David Price is probably the most notable name to opt out so far, former Cy Young Award winner. Ryan Zimmerman opted out. Washington Nationals have had a couple. We're having just a bunch of testing mishaps with not getting test results back in a couple days where teams are having to shut their camps down till they can. It's just quite the mess right now. And they came out with the schedule today, and I'm not even thinking we're going to have a season, unfortunately. I'm still at the point where I'll believe it when I see it. I hope I'm wrong because I want sports back so bad. This show needs sports, or we don't have a show.
Yes, very well said.
But we'll see what happens. Mike Trout had some pretty strong comments over the weekend saying he doesn't feel comfortable at all, doesn't even know if he'll play the full season. Of course, his wife's pregnant. Chris Bryant had some quotes today saying he thought coming back to baseball would give him a sense of normalcy and he'd feel comfortable, but he doesn't feel comfortable at all. Of course, his wife just had a baby back in April. Sean Doolittle, Washington National, he's one of the more outspoken baseball players, says said that he was tested on Friday, and as of Saturday night, he still hasn't gotten his results back. So it's just a big. So
they're obviously not doing the
now.
blood rapid test that you get results back within like 15 minutes.
29 of the 30 teams have at least one guy that has tested positive. The Cubs are the one team so far that has not, which good for them, but who knows what happens if a team has 10 guys go down the middle of the season. I actually just favorited a tweet here. I forget what it was, but the Dallas Soccer Football Club, Dallas Soccer Club, is pulling out of the MLS's back, I think, tournament because they had 10 players and a coach test positive, so they're completely pulling out. I think it was the Dallas Football Club. But it's just scary times for sports. You obviously want guys to feel safe and feel like they're going to be healthy, but I just don't know how they're going to manage it, to be honest.
The only one that's been able to manage it so far is the PGA Tour, and they still have guys testing positive every week, but theirs is a little different than a team sport, of course.
Yeah, I mean, you could easily social distance yourself on a golf course. Honestly, I think they could have been playing for months.
Where it gets weird is the touching the flag stick and everything, and because a lot of them aren't leaving it in the putt with. They take it out and everything, so that's where it gets. But I'm sure off camera you're just not seeing. I'm sure they're sanitizing those between groups and wiping them down, spraying them, wiping them down, and doing different things. But so far so good. The PGA Tour is. I mean, it is different. And I'll get talking to golf a little bit. It's different watching tournaments without fans, but they're doing a pretty good job.
Yes. But as we said, the schedule is out. The first game is the Yankees against the Nationals. I think it's in Washington.
Yep, Garrett Cole versus Max Scherzer.
And I think that had been announced already, or people had leaked
kind of been leaked
last year or last week. And you said there's another game.
Yeah, the nightcap at 10 o'clock. That night's the Giants-Dodgers.
Giants-Dodgers, it's a good rivalry. Cubs open up with a 3-game set against the Brew Crew. Then they have a 4-game set at the Cincinnati Reds. They'll be sitting there at 1-6, and I'll wish the season never would have started. So this is going to be fun.
Give us something to talk about at least.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to talk too much about them. But they did kind of catch a break. They host the Cardinals at Wrigley twice and only have to go to St. Louis once, which with no crowd, who knows how that's going to affect. I would say as far as crowd in home field advantage, I would say baseball is probably less than basketball and football. However, you do get the last at bat when you're at home in baseball, so it kind of evens out. But as far as playing in front of crowds and stuff, definitely baseball is less so. Now, it'll be quite the adjustment for teams like the Cubs, Yankees, Cardinals, where they're used to having 40,000 in the stands.
What's going to be weird if they are able to have a season and get through the season is the postseason. That's going to be weird. That's
going to be strange. We're going to see teams in it that if they would have had a normal season, they would have been.
The atmosphere and environment will be weird.
Sure.
I mean, playoff baseball is fun, and then you're going to get nothing in the crowds. I mean, the place isn't going to be rocking.
Yeah, and a lot of these players, maybe not a lot, but I think you're going to see more injuries just because the adrenaline levels will not be nearly as much as what they were, as much as what they would be.
A lot of athletes thrive off of the atmosphere.
That's where they get their energy. Now, I think we will see some cool stuff.
Sure.
Here's some cool stuff. Like the Cubs were playing a scrimmage. Of course, no fans or anything. But Albert Almora swung and his bat went flying. Whole dugout was cracking up laughing. Sure. You could hear him. You could hear David Ross yelling at Schwarber from the dugout, "Come on, Schwarbs! Come on, Schwarbs!" When you see he was trying to score from first on a double, and he ended up stopping.
I did like his ghost high five and butt pat he did. That was pretty funny.
Yeah. So it's going to be so strange. Now, we watched a little bit of the TBT, the basketball tournament, and without fans, I mean, it was different. But at least you have your teammates cheering you on.
I don't know if that environment really needs fans anyways.
Sure.
It's more like a organized pickup game. But yeah, I think they're doing a really good job with the whole organizing of that and how they've handled players that test positive and everything.
Now, It does help, much like it'll help the
On the
NBA,
bubble.
where they have a bubble,
Sure.
where teams will be, where baseball, you're traveling all around your area,
Yes.
essentially your regional area, which is different. But yeah, the TBT was kind of golf was the first official sport, but it's nice to at least be able to watch some live basketball from guys that are legitimately really good players.
And I actually kind of cared about last night since Purdue's representative team, even though they only have 4 guys playing in it, the Minimaki, which a little plug here. Another podcast I have, the Boiler Breakdown. We interviewed former Purdue men's basketball player Evan Boudreaux,
free ads.
Who's playing? I can do what I want. Who's playing on the Minimac team? We interviewed him last week, so that's on all of our audio platforms and on our YouTube page if you want to check that out.
I will say it was a great interview.
Had some audio technical difficulties at times, but we did the best we could with it. And very smart guy, a fun guy to talk to, and
Dartmouth grad, easily the smartest of the 4 on the show.
He had 8 points and 3 or 4 boards last night. So Isaac Haas had a double-double, but they were bailed out by a former Washington Husky and a former D-leaguer, not G-League, D-League, and he plays in Europe.
Is it Justin Dentman?
Justin Dentman, yeah.
I remember him at Washington. He was a really good player.
Yeah, he was hitting some crazy shots last night. He has the highest point total of a single game performance so far in this year's TBT, 32.
Yes, I turned it there for like a minute or two, and I saw Bogey try to take a charge.
Yeah, he flopped.
And he flopped big time again. He rightfully got called for a block on it. It was real late, too.
And it was weird hearing good old Daniel Dockage on the call again. Of course, he made a big mistake early in the game and then owned up to it and told Purdue fans to come at him on Twitter because he was sitting there praising Ryan Smith. Why isn't Ryan Smith playing in this? He was just playing for Purdue 2 years ago. He was thinking Ryan Klein. He dropped 30 on Tennessee, and then after the break he goes, I'm sorry, I got confused. I feel bad. I love Ryan Klein. I know Ryan Klein's dad. I know Ryan Smith's dad. He goes, Purdue fans come at me on Twitter. That's embarrassing. So Purdue fans took advantage of it and were just ripping him to shreds. So it was kind of fun.
In Dockage's defense, I did that exact same thing when you said you were interviewing my favorite boiler. I was saying,
sharpshooters.
Crap, is it Ryan Klein? Because I didn't like Ryan Klein or Ryan Smith.
Ryan Smith was an Illinois killer.
He was an absolute
not too much, if I remember.
I didn't mind Klein as much. I just got him mixed up. I felt stupid afterwards.
But, yeah, it's easy to do, both sharpshooters. So
going back to little baseball.
Yep, sorry, we kind of tangent.
No, that's all right. I just saw this on the tweeter. A few notable dates. Major League Baseball will honor the 100th anniversary of the founding of the Negro Leagues on Sunday, August 16th.
Yeah, that just happened. I meant to mention that last week. I forgot.
Yes. I think the Negro Leagues Museum is in Kansas City, and I've heard it's amazing. So everybody go check that out if you're in KC. Jackie Robinson Day, which is usually April 15th, is now going to be held. I just saw Friday, August 28th, my father's birthday.
Oh, cool.
Which is the anniversary of the March on Washington in 1963, as well as the date in 1945 when Branch Rickey met with Jackie Robinson to discuss his future in the big leagues. So that's a few notes.
Going back to the Indians' name, I just saw my dad text me earlier. Cleveland Rocks. He thinks would be cool.
Ooh, that is a good one.
Not bad.
I wonder what their logo would be. Would it be?
I don't think it'd be a rock because you already got the Colorado Rockies, which is out there, the mountains. But
no one cares about them.
You could do some sort of guitar or something.
Yeah. I like Cleveland Rocks. That's a good one. I mean, once the Washington team, of course I'm not calling them the Redskins tonight until just now, but I was going to say it will take a while for me not to call them the Redskins, much like it's going to take me a year. I still call them the San Diego Chargers. I'll still call them the Oakland Raiders.
That one's going to be hard for me to get used to.
It's going to be a tough one.
But you don't call the Rams St. Louis Rams.
I completely forgot they played in St. Louis. That's how little that stupid city means to me.
And they won a Super Bowl and got to another one while they were in St. Louis.
Yes.
But speaking of football, speaking of the state of Missouri, some big football news coming out of the state of Missouri today.
Yeah.
Big sports news, really, not just football news.
Patrick Mahomes got absolutely paid. Largest contract in the history of sports.
Not just football.
10-year extension worth up to $503 million. It includes $477 million in guaranteed mechanisms. Don't know what that means. and the ability for Mahomes to have outs if guarantee mechanisms aren't exercised. So I wonder if they're like vesting options or something. I'm not 100% sure. But he got absolutely paid. I've never seen a contract like this. I think we saw Bryce Harper sign I forget what Harper ended up signing. Was it? Or Trout signed a 10-year, $400 million. Which, when Adam Schefter first had his sources say Patrick Mahomes is going to sign an extension, 10-year extension, he said it will be more than $400 million. Wasn't expecting it to be $100 million above $400 million.
It tacks on 10 years on top of the 2 years remaining, so really it's a 12-year deal. It's got to run up in the season of 2031.
30-31.
2031.
112 years.
Well, might as well. That's
They'll
ways in the future.
Be paying him then.
But Kermit got paid.
Yeah, I don't really understand the Kermit nickname. I know you think his voice sounds like him, but I don't.
I'm sticking with it.
You just don't like him.
He's a very good player, but he plays for one of my least favorite, if not my least favorite NFL team. But he's going to torture my team for the next over a decade plus.
A guy that is licking his chops to get even just a fraction of that money is
Dak Prescott.
Dak Prescott, who did sign his franchise tender a
few
weeks ago.
He can thank Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes for driving this quarterback market.
Would you put... Obviously, you wouldn't put him at Mahomes' level. Would you put him above Deshaun Watson, though?
About equal.
I would say they're about equal. I think...
Maybe Dak's got the leg up a little bit just over experience, but...
Not much.
They're pretty darn close. They are pretty darn close.
They are similar. I think Dak has more Russell Wilson in him, and Deshaun Watson has more... I don't even know what kind of comparison I can make. Deshaun's more of a gunslinger. He's going to hold on to... Ben Roethlisberger might be a good comparison for a guy like Deshaun Watson. He holds onto the ball a ton, gets hit a bunch, kind of turns it over a little bit as well, but he'll throw 5,000 yards, 40 touchdowns, where Dak's... hopefully I'm not screwing this up. I'm going to go look up Dak's numbers real quick. But I would say Dak turns it over less. Dak only threw 11 picks this year, but 30 touchdowns. He's only been a starter one more year than Deshaun has.
It feels like he's 2 or 3 years older. So.
Well, Deshaun only threw one more touchdown or one more interception, so my comparison's already been debunked. I apologize. But just watching him, it seems like Deshaun Watson has a little more a Big Ben type.
Well, he doesn't have the offensive line that Dak does.
Sure, absolutely. And now Deshaun doesn't have the receiving core well, which Dak doesn't have a great receiving core either.
Got Amari
He does have Amari. Is Amari holding out, or was he a free agent? Or I forget. It's been so long since March. It feels like 2 years.
You know. But one thing the Chiefs, and I've said this for a long time, in a couple of years, they're going to have huge decisions to make for their football team because they just tied up pretty much everything into the quarterback, which I don't blame them. But they got maybe a small window right now to win big, and then they're got to rebuild. But they got their quarterback and their franchise guy to rebuild around. But they're going to run into a problem just like Seattle did with their defense.
Yes, and I've also heard mention that they could be shipping off Chris Jones just to save some money.
And he's a big piece of that defense.
He's almost at the level of like an Aaron Donald type player. Not that great. I've never seen a defensive tackle like
he's their most important piece of their defense, too.
But when you score points,
you're right.
I mean, you rarely see a team that's so balanced where they're scoring a ton of points and keeping guys from scoring. And in today's NFL, I think you win with that kind of offense. Although the San Francisco 49ers just went out with they had a good run game, but their defense was great, and they about won it as well. So, but in today's NFL, I think pay your quarterback, worry about everything else later.
Well, I think you have to build your roster to score points. I think that's why you've seen teams like Denver and even I almost said Oakland, even Las Vegas go get speed because they're trying to match what Kansas City's doing on offense because they know to beat Kansas City, you got to score more than them. And when you play them twice a year, I mean,
you can have great defense all you want, but if you're scoring 22 points a game, you're not going to win too many games in today's NFL.
Yep.
Going back to Amari Cooper, he signed a 5-year, $100 million contract extension to stay with the Cowboys.
That's right. I do remember that now.
I do as well. I apologize for not remembering. I'm mad at myself.
It's been a long 2020's been a long year, even though we're in the 7th month of it.
At the same time, it's going incredibly
I know.
fast.
It's weird. It's weird. It's really weird. But Patrick Mahomes got paid big time, and it'll be interesting to see.
Get that money!
The injury guarantees $140 million of the contract.
Yeah. He blows out his knee, gets $140 million.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
It was Bobby Bonilla Day. I forget what day last week.
Last Friday, I believe.
I think it was Friday as well. Maybe Thursday, because Thursday felt like a Friday. It seems like I was at work. Who cares? Oh, July 1st is
yes.
Wednesday.
Yes. Well, yep, you're right. You're right.
He is getting paid, what is it,
1.35 or 1.13?
Something like that.
No, I don't know. Yeah,
until he's 72 years
old.
Like
isn't it year 2035 or something like that?
I think it's still like 72 years old.
Okay. Yeah, that was the dumbest. I mean, his agent needs a raise times 2.
Yeah.
That was just...
Yeah. 1.19 million. It is until 2035. So, once again, the J-Man screws up his math.
It's all good, J-Man.
So that dude's... he signed a contract, so this is just that contract spread over a bunch of years. So he's getting the same amount of money.
He wasn't even that great of a player.
He was pretty good.
I mean, he was good, but, man. Like, what were they thinking with that contract?
6-time All-Star.
We've talked about him before on the podcast. Every year around that day, because we bring it up.
3-time Silver Slugger.
Astonishing the contract is.
He played with a bunch of teams. Look at all those teams. He played with 8 teams.
Yeah.
He was at his best with Pittsburgh.
Well, the NBA is trying to come back, of course.
Yeah.
So is the NHL, who the players tentatively agreed today to start camp next week, a week from today on Monday, on training camp on the 13th, and then games on August 1st. But the NBA will be returning, but the Pacers will not have their best player in Victor Oladipo as he decided to opt out and try to make sure his knee's healthy for next year. Smart move?
Yeah, absolutely. You can't, he didn't opt out because of the pandemic.
No.
But after having that injury, it was a pretty bad injury.
It's a quad tear. It used to ruin your career.
And he missed a bunch of the season, then came back for, I don't know.
And he wasn't himself,
games.
anyways.
Was he back 15, 20
Sounds
games?
about right, and he wasn't himself.
And then taking this whole stretch off and trying to come back again. It's definitely smart.
Yeah.
You see a bunch of people ripping on athletes that are opting out, which is just idiotic.
And I've seen Pacer fans nervous because next year's the last year of his contract. There's rumors that he wants to go play in Miami. If that happens, it happens. We're just got to wait and see. He's called Indianapolis his city multiple times, wants to play his career there, so we'll see. But
played 13 games. I wouldn't call Oladipo a superstar, though. I think they love him because he went to IU.
Correct.
That helps him. He's a good player. Don't get me wrong.
I might get ripped for this, but I think he's a good number 2 player on the team. I don't think he's good enough to be the main guy.
He's not a guy that I would think be the main guy. He's not as good as this player. But I kind of view him like a Jimmy Butler type.
Yeah. He'd fit well with him in Miami.
Because I don't think Jimmy Butler's a guy that's going to be the dude on a championship squad. He's with the Miami Heat.
Yep.
He's averaging 20 points a game, which is solid, and he's a good rebounder, good assist guy. But I don't think he'll ever be the dude. I'm trying to look at the Heat roster here real quick before you talk some golf. Only have 12 minutes left.
Yes.
They're 17 games over 500. Their second best player, and arguably their best player, is Bam Adebayo. They have 8 guys averaging at least 11 points a game. Now I'm not sure how many of these guys are still on the roster because I know Justice Winslow's not, but it's kind of who I compare him to.
Pacers aren't going to win anything anyways. They're not a very good basketball team. Or they're good enough to make the playoffs, but they're not good enough to even compete for the championship. So
now, with the virus and all that, it'll be a lot different for an NBA team than it would a Major League Baseball team because NBA teams have, 14, 15 players at tops? If you have 6 guys catch it, you're done. I don't know how they can just sign guys off the streets because I haven't heard anything about them having a taxi squad.
No, I have not either. So it'll be interesting, but that was big news in the state of Indiana on Twitter over the past few days. So, the golfing world had another tournament over the weekend, the Rocket Mortgage Classic up in Detroit, the second year of that tournament. Saw Bryson DeChambeau come away with the win, his first win since 2018, even though this makes his 7th tournament in a row he's finished in the top 10. The dude's reshaped his body, gained tons of muscle, looks like a linebacker.
How much money has he made in that span?
A lot.
A lot of money.
So I think what he's doing is paying off for him. The way he's retooled his golf game, retooled his body, really. And now all of a sudden, not only did he win over the weekend, he's the favorite in the 3 majors this year, in the PGA Championship, the U.S. Open, and the Masters.
I've heard you talk about Bryson
for a while.
But it just seems like he's a huge name, like overnight, just because of how long he hits the ball.
Now he is.
How far
he was an NCAA champion out of SMU. He was a physics major. Always did things weird. I mean, he loves science, loves physics, of course, like I just mentioned. So he's always trying to find a little advantage over his competition, whether it's using a different putter than anybody, using a compass, which he can't use anymore, putting a different style, which he can't do that anymore, the one style, the side saddle he was doing, using a 5-degree driver like he is now, building himself like a linebacker like he looks. He's just always trying to find something.
Just find an edge.
Well, what he's found this time looks like it's working. He averaged 350.6 yards off the tee this week, which was just mind-blowing. I said to you earlier, I think he had 16 drives that were over 350 yards. The next closest was 6.
I could have 19 in a 4-day stretch. But
Yeah.
I was thinking 1 day.
Yeah, so no. But it's fun to watch him play. I mean, Matthew Wolff, he's a second-year guy out of Oklahoma State, only 21 years old. He was coming at Bryson down the stretch because Matthew had a 3-stroke lead yesterday going into it, ended up blowing it, which ties the largest lead blown on the PGA Tour this year. Going to the last day, because usually that's a pretty comfortable lead for a pro, unless it's a major or something. But Bryson caught up 2 or 3 holes. Wolff and him were already tied. Wolff was coming, got within 1, but Bryson finished birdie at the end yesterday, and that'll do it.
Golf hasn't had a villain in a while either.
And Patrick Reed kind of tried to be.
Yeah, but he hasn't done a whole lot since he won his.
He's more known for cheating, really.
Yeah, that kind of makes.
But Bryson says a lot of dumb things to the media. Doesn't like the camera catching him pouting because he does pout a lot. But all of a sudden, you're looking at a guy who's 26 years old, has 6 tour victories now, and like I said, he's the majors favorite, for the 3 majors this year. I mean, and now he's hitting the ball just further than anybody on tour by a long shot. I mean, further than Dustin Johnson and further than Brooks Koepka and some of the bombers, and it's working.
Yeah.
I mean, not only is he hitting it long, he's hitting it straight.
That's half the battle, too.
That is. He has taken this week off, I believe. This week's a unique week, unique 2 weeks in the PGA Tour. Both this week's tournament, which was a kind of a let's just hurry up and create a tournament, because this was supposed to be the John Deere Classic. And Illinois said, no, we're not doing a PGA Tour. So Muirfield Village, which is holding the Memorial Tournament next week, one of golf's biggest non-majors, said, we will take this tournament. And they found a sponsor in the Workday, so it's the Workday Charity Open. So you're going to have the same golf course 2 weeks in a row, hold 2 different tournaments. And
next week was supposed to be the first week or tournament with fans, and I said for weeks that it wasn't going to happen, and I think you would always say, like, well, they say it's going to happen.
So far, yep. And today they announced they were only going to let 8,000 into the gates next week, which is only 20% of what usually gets through. But they just said with everything, how everything's going, they decided not to. Probably smart. I wouldn't want to be there and wearing a mask in 90-plus degree heat. That'd be pretty uncomfortable to stand out that long and watch hours of golf. But I think it's pretty safe to say I don't think we'll see any fans at any golf tournament in 2020, including the Masters in November, which would really be disappointing.
If 8,000 were to be in, that'd still be 444 people a hole.
Yeah. But they would not have seating out there. There was going to be no stands.
Still.
Spread them out.
That's still a lot of people. Yeah. But,
and I didn't read all into it. I'm sure they were finding ways to spread them out somehow, try to control. I don't know. That's over my pay grade. But
probably smart, though.
Anyways, Muirfield Village holding back-to-back tournaments. This week's tournament, they're going to make the course a little easier than they will next week for the Memorial. Your top 15 player power rankings. Number 15 is John Rahm. Number 14, Mark Leishman. Number 13, Cameron Champ. Number 12, Kevin Streelman. Number 11, Ricky Fowler. Number 10, Victor Hovland. Number 9, Matt Kuchar. Number 8, Matthew Wolf. Number 7, Xander Schauffele. Number 6, Gary Woodland. Number 5, Brooks Koepka. Number 4, Justin Thomas. Number 3, Patrick Cantlay. Number 2, Justin Rose. And number 1, Hideki Matsuyama. Pretty big names in there.
No Rory?
No Rory this week. Jordan Spieth, Jason Day, Patrick Reed, Colin Morikawa, and Phil Mickelson among those who are in the field. We're not in the power rankings. Now, next week, we will see Rory. We will see Eldrick Tiger Woods make his return next week. Next week will be the names and names will be there for the memorial. But who are you going with this week?
Give me the 13th guy. That's what I took last week. Sticking with it.
Well, let's see here who that was, because I just screwed this up and got out of it like I always do. I think 13th was, I think it was Cameron Champ off the top of my head.
Feel good about it.
Yes, it was Cameron Champ.
Beautiful. That wasn't my book it, because I don't think I'm going to have a book it this week. But the J-Man's Book It Prediction of the Week is brought to you by Indiana Farm Bureau insurance agent Travis Watring. For life, home, auto, renters, business, workers' comp, and farm, contact Travis at 219-869-4561. Also contact him at travis.watring@infb.com. I have one more on this day that's not sports related. John Lennon met Paul McCartney today in 1957.
Pretty big meeting.
It turned out all right.
And I'm going with Ricky Fowler this week.
I thought about Ricky. I thought he was actually 13.
I thought he played well over the weekend. So
he almost missed the cut, but
yeah.
he must have played well on Saturday and
yeah,
Sunday.
he played really well yesterday. So I think he ended up, I don't know what he ended up. It wasn't top 10, but it wasn't too far away. Ready for the birdie bogey again one more time?
Yes.
Okay. So there's been 16 major leaguers who have hit 100-plus homers during the month of July. 2 of the 16 played for the Cubs. One of them is 4th in career home runs in July, behind only Barry Bonds, Hank Aaron, and Babe Ruth. Who is it?
So you said you didn't think I'd get it.
Now I'm double guessing myself.
So that makes me think, oh man, there's 3 guys. There's literally 3 people.
Or maybe it's a very obvious answer, and I think that you're going to go with a non-obvious guy.
I'm going to go with the not obvious guy and say Billy Williams.
No.
Cripes. Who is it?
Rafael Palmeiro.
Oh, you jerk.
With 117.
I was thinking he was with the Cubs a long time. That was a trick question.
Sammy Sosa had 108, Fred McGriff 96, and Ernie Banks 91.
See,
gotta pay attention to the details.
Say the question again. I want to hear the details. You said former Cub.
We're running out of time here.
You have 2 minutes, 3 minutes.
16 major leaguers have hit 100-plus homers during the month of July. 2 of the 16 on that list who have hit 100-plus played for the Cubs.
See, you worded it like they played. You should have said played at one time for the Chicago Cubs.
When?
Now, in your defense, Palmeiro wouldn't even been in the stratosphere of my brain.
Yep.
I was thinking Sosa, but the way you said it, man, that's way too obvious. Should have said Sosa. Would have been a better guess.
Would have been.
Or Ernie Banks.
At least Sosa hit over 100. Fred McGriff and Banks a little under 100.
Wouldn't even thought Fred McGriff either.
He's on this show a lot. His name, for some reason, comes up a lot.
But I always forget he was with the Cubs.
Wrap us up there, J-Man, for episode 190. We're only 10 away from 200.
Yes, sir. Thanks for watching / listening to the Tan and J-Man Show. We were live on the ISC Sports Network, as well as their free ISC Sports Network app. Go download it today. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Noble Gnome LLC, Indiana Farm Bureau insurance agent Travis Watring, The Dam Landing, and Performer Print House. Hope you guys have a great rest of the week, everybody, and we'll be back at it next Monday.